There's a scripture that says, wherever two or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. And I don't think I've had a more holy time, I don't know, maybe except for with Jean, than with a woman I had today. I felt like I should just make a little video about it. This woman came to our house a couple weeks ago, and I had a moment in time with her that was really precious and holy also, because after 35 years, something unusual had happened with her. She took off her Pinocchio mask and let me know the real her, which is highly unusual. So I've known her for 35 years ago. I met her. So I've known of her ever since then. And the relationship has been rough because of one thing, doing the things that God hates in Proverb 6, which are, once you're a pretender, what is that? Pride. And when we try to get what we need from people and from life through pride, it always backfires on us, especially in relationships with anybody, children, because there's no glue in pretense. And love and truth are the only thing that glues relationships to each other, not pride and lying. So I told her today, that's why you tasted real love in Jean and I, because we weren't bound in deceit to get what we wanted from each other. And even I went up for a walk one time because I was raised by a women's liber. So I was getting ready to the place where all men are liars. I don't think I want one, not even that guy. So, the Lord really started showing me a deep mystery of why there's centuries of things that have gone wrong with men and women. And I think a lot of people have even misunderstood this about me and my relationship with Gene too, because I wasn't willing to lie to him. I continually got back in the ring with him, champion boxer, even when he would say things to me like, we're done, I'm not talking about this anymore. I would come in broken bread with a broken sacrifice saying, honey, I don't want to build a wall against you. I don't want to put a brick there. I don't want a little fox to live in the house that has the potential to destroy our relationship. And because I came back broken instead of with my broom to spank him, there's a few times I did that too, I'm sure. But I always wanted to continually get back in the ring to try to resolve conflict, even if I had to get other people involved. So I think a lot of people have seen me as very controlling and haven't understood that, but I understand the mystery of lying and hiding in relationships too. So I've had a lot of pain in relationships too with people that, like Jean, when you become broken bread, when you realize that you've sinned much because of those abominations that are in men's hearts, and you actually be forgiven for that, you actually have the ability to not feel sorry for people anymore, but actually be broken bread that they can find God's mercy too. Because most everybody I know was raised by a woman feeling sorry for themselves. And you know what? It's hard to get any kind of healing. There really is no hope in self-pity or being pitied. As a matter of fact, when I was younger and I went to this big church and people started pitying me, I actually got pretty suicidal from the ministry of pity. And I think there's a lot of people that have really despised me and rejected me because that's what they wanted. They didn't want truth that I had in my broken bread testimony that would make them free. And that is the story of this woman's life too. So there's been a lot of distance, a lot of years of not knowing her, being distanced from her. The problem with when you get prideful too and look down on somebody, which is the only other option when you're not broken bread and you can't give them your broken bread sacrifice because you've been washed in the blood of the Lamb yourself, so you can tell them the truth about princes, powers, and rulers that you've submitted to, and give them words that God gave you to heal you and deliver you from your destruction. All that's left is pretense. And so we were even talking about that too, how we were raised as kind of brute beasts to be destroyed. Because once you start looking down on people and you live in pride, you lie about who you are, and you hide your offenses. There's also a proverb that says this. It says, not only through deceit they refuse to know me, it says, though they speak fair words, believe them not, because there's 7 abominations in their heart, whose hatred, who's looking down on you, is covered by their deception. When they speak fair things and flatter you, don't believe them, because they're hiding in their soul the things God hates. And just about everybody I know is raised by a woman like that, because without conversion, you can love little, not much. So we all kind of had mothers that were more like 3-year-olds, acting, thinking, and speaking like a child, right? So this woman has been really precious. And again, she said that Gene said something to her. She came over here to see him. And he said, you'll never know what's in you until I'm gone. And man, I mean, I feel like Jesus Christ came and sat down and had a little chat with me and was pouring healing oil all over me for half an hour. There was such joyous weeping because she's rejected me, because I haven't been willing to feel sorry for her. That's what her mother did. And so she's hid, she's lied, she's worn a Pinocchio face, and she's looked down on me and picked me apart. That's all you can do as a prideful pretender. You have to look down on people, because nobody's worth saving and keeping their soul by your testimony, by your sacrifice. I think I'm going to leave this too, because there's a nun that just talks about picking up your cross and following Jesus. So I was telling her kind of what's gone on since Gene has passed away, but also even before so, it has gone on, and really who he was. He was broken bread, so he never looked down on me. You know, and those who have been forgiven much actually do have the power to love much. And even about him, he made a lot of strong judgments, but never to condemn me or anybody else. And judgment is the only thing that can save us. If you read scriptures on judgment, you'll get that. Zion has been redeemed through judgment. All God's ways are judgment. You know, so she, like others, have believed I kick people out of the ministry, right? I'm just a horrendous person that chases people off. And so we were talking about that a little, and she was weeping and crying, saying, my gosh, I've crucified the sacrifice of Jesus in you all these years. She's crying. And you know what happens when we do that is we become like brute beasts made to be destroyed, like the beasts that wander out here. There's deer out here. All they care about is their appetites, their passions, and their emotions of who gets the food first, and they kick each other around. And their desires. They desire to eat first, so they fight with each other. Even the turkeys were taking each other on. I couldn't believe what I saw with my turkeys the other day. I thought there was flying trash bags in the sky, and these 2 turkeys like even came out, and I was right close to them, and I was talking to them, and there was nothing that was going to distract them from their taking each other on, right? I've never seen anything like it. It was, they had a lot of passion for what they were involved in, which was tearing each other down so you could be the big man. That's how brute beasts are. And so I was telling her that that's what I realized about my mom. She had a brutish spirit because she didn't hear God's voice and obey it. So she was telling me about this dream because she'd married somebody, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was, but you know, it was a relationship built on deceit, on the sand of deception. You know, the house built on the sand, where you have to pretend like you're somebody you're not, where there's no open, honest communication. And it was just terrible. Addictions, you know, abuse on both of their parts. And she said, I had a dream about him that we were hugging and telling each other we were sorry in heaven. And I said, you know, you have really come a long way for you to even come over here and be truthful after all these years that you've lived in deceiving yourself and never wanting to touch your pain. Even with another woman, she had a memory this morning that brought up the pain in her soul with her mother. And she went to go tell another lady about it, and that other woman ended up sharing a story too. And that's how we get healed. Both of them experienced the healing of God because with an open face, they were beholding, they weren't hiding, they weren't pretending in the face of God and in the face of each other. And so they could almost be each other's healing oil. We are Jesus's hands and feet. That's exactly what happened with me and her, because I've been in situations without Gene before, like when he's gone on trips, and like all the abominations in people's hearts, all the things they're hiding that, that they're looking down on him or me for, tend to just come out like a flood, right? When he's not there anymore. And all their beliefs. And I think a lot of people have really believed I'm just controlling, I'm some Jezebel that just can't shut up. And, the real truth is, I don't want little foxes to spoil the vine. I don't want to have a brick in my relationship with anybody, or him either. And so I go the distance to reveal myself and my conscience. Back to what happened when I was thinking about being raised by an independent woman and how much pain and suffering I'd gone through with men. And do I really want to go down the road with another man? I don't think so. But the Lord showed me that there's a real problem all throughout the ages that have gone on with women, that they won't keep going back to men broken in a right spirit, trying to resolve things in humility and brokenness, because God stands behind that. And God always stood behind that with Gene. Me with Gene and Gene with me, both. I was probably the transgressor more because he had a lot more spiritual maturity than I did to actually receive me and my problems and not look down on me. And so, we were talking specifically about thinking that I chase people off. And the truth is, I have chased people off that just want to feel sorry for themselves. So has Gene. Because God is the God of all truth. Jesus is the way and the truth and the life. The Holy Spirit of truth is what we reject. It's the great transgression when we lie about the voice of God in our conscience. We end up maybe at the end of our life being guilty of the greatest transgression there is, shutting up the voice of God in our conscience for pride, right? This is why a lot of people love the pity ministry too, because they don't want to expose who they really are to the Lord, and they won't give the real them away. And so I was telling her different stories about things that have gone on where people are just accusers. Because the whole world can judge each other, right? Everybody can make judgments about other people. Not too many people will walk into your world, though, as a broken sacrifice that's been forgiven by God for bowing down to princes, powers, and rulers of darkness and serving them, and can tell you, the prince and the power and the ruler of darkness that you're under the power of. Gene Sullivan had a word ministry where he could hear the spirit of words, which became highly dangerous. You either loved him or hated him for that. And it wasn't always easy for me to love him either. I wasn't madly in love with the truth to make me free when I met him either. And it took a while for me to even understand that I was in the midst of a broken sacrifice. A man who'd picked up his cross and decided to follow Jesus, and knew that with time proves all things, and the Lord stands behind truth and love, and truth and love don't happen without each other. And people will persecute you. They'll despise you. They will look down on you. Whoever separates themselves from having a Pinocchio face and being deceitful makes themselves a prey. That's a scripture too. There's also another proverb that says they will be hated for their love. So probably looked Yeah, Gene just ruined marriages. Those marriages were ruined before they ever met Gene Sullivan. That's the sad part. And, it says naughty ears will listen to lies, right? People that want to be pitied, they will be more than happy to accuse anybody, including me or Gene Sullivan or any other Christian. You really have to receive the love of the truth to be able to even be willing to tell people the truth and give them your testimony, what you needed to be forgiven for, and the words of the good Father, because if he is our Father, he has words, right? To heal us and deliver us from our destruction. People that don't have words about personally in real life, that's the only thing that's going to help us see the difference between real Christians and the people that can just say everything right, but they're not personal. And so what was unbelievable was this woman's sacrifice to me, for sacrificing me, in a sense, sacrificing Jesus in me that was always trying to wash her feet with a basin and a towel through my words, through my testimony. My gosh, I was crying my eyes out. It was so unbelievably glorious. It was almost like having Jesus walk in and heal me from the suffering of all the people who've hated me for my love, of all the people who've tried to shut me down and say, shut up, come back another day, like who's the Caesar did to the one ruler. I don't want to make this very long, but we're going to have a meeting, and maybe I'll just do a live show with that, of women sharing their testimonies. Because, the truth is, I wanted to be pitied too. I had a mom that pitied me, but that glue doesn't last, and it doesn't make relationships work. Love and truth are the only things that make any relationship work. And that's why, because I've been broken bread that has been forgiven much, I could give that sacrifice to children whose own mothers didn't give that to them, but just pitied them and despised them. Because whoever pities you will eventually break out in a viper. It all comes out eventually. I hope to talk more about this because it was one of the most glorious. I felt like I got a spiritual cleanse at Roto-Rooter. I felt like Jesus just came in and gave me a bath and a shower and washed my feet with a basin and a towel through her true confession of hating the sacrifice of Jesus Christ in me, the woman who decided to pick up her cross and follow Jesus. Even Jean, she kept him at arm's length ever since she's known him. And that's what he said, you'll know the gift in you after I'm gone. You'll know the comforter. And oh my gosh, did this woman comfort me with why she's despised me and hated me and created conspiracies against me with other women that just feel sorry for themselves. It was like going to heaven with somebody today. It was incredible. I just want to make a little video about it. It was the true definition of where two or more are gathered in my name. There I am in the midst of them.